Yes, this time they are coming for your guns. Out-of-state anti-gun billionaires spent millions to get radical politicians elected in order to take over the Virginia General Assembly. And now, those anti-rights politicians are paying back that dirty money in spades. An assault weapon ban, magazine ban, restaurant carry ban, and new 3-day waiting period bills were recently filed. And if they get their way, there is even a bill that would prevent you from carrying your lawfully owned pistol to visit your own mother in the hospital. These radical tyrants will stop at nothing to see you defenseless. That is their final goal. But we at the VCDL, like we always do, will be there too. Lobby Day 2024 is January 15th, and we need you to help us turn back the tide of anti-rights legislation in Richmond. Join us to lobby your representatives and help us say no to these extremist bills that would do nothing to prevent real crime, but that would leave you and your family defenseless against criminals. Go to vcdl.org/LD24 today to find out about ride sharing, bus info, and the latest info on how to make your voice heard. Because your right to protect yourself and your family is not negotiable.
All right, well, it's good to see we're live. We had a little technical issue there.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, good seeing the comments coming in. Yeah, some technology failed us a few minutes ago. Yeah,
Yes.
we weren't on the air. And actually, that watching that video was a reminder that actually, it's, we need to probably cover Lobby Day a little bit.
Yes.
I don't try to remember. We haven't had a virtual since Lobby Day, have we?
No, we have not.
The first one. So I forgot about that.
One.
Yeah.
So
okay.
On the screen, before I forget to mention it, there's a QR code that takes you to our legislative tracker, and Philip will update us on the what's going on in the General Assembly with the bills and stuff. We just hit crossover day last week. So go ahead, Philip. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did want to get that out before my old brain forgot it.
No problem. We've been deep in the battle here. Crossover day has passed, and now each body is looking at the other body's bills that survived. And but I'll say this, basically, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, this is a war on gun owners. It really is. I keep saying it's absolutely true. Never seen anything like this. Basically, they've taken their mask off. They used to say, oh, nobody wants your guns. We don't want to take your guns. We just want some reasonable gun control. We want to keep guns out of the wrong hands. How many times have we all heard that? Millions of times, over and over and over again. Well, that's all gone. They do want to take our guns. They've got bills to do that. They don't want reasonable gun control because they're going after people like you and me that are permit holders and saying we're not trustworthy. What are they talking about? We are the most trustworthy people that can be. The rate of permit revocation in Virginia is 0.1% of 1%. Now think about that. 0.1% of 1% of all permits are revoked for any reason. And those reasons don't have to be anything to do with a crime that you can lose your permit over, because there's quite a few disqualifiers. But they're even saying that people that have that incredible amount of ability to follow the law, that's not good enough. We don't trust you to carry concealed in a restaurant. And what they told us is, well, you can open carry in a restaurant, but then they've got another bill that makes open carry illegal outside in the public. So it's an absolute war on gun owners. And like I say, the mask is off. When they say the other thing they always say is what? They want to keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Well, let me tell you something. As far as they're concerned, you're somebody whose hands shouldn't have a gun in them. They don't tell you that. They let you assume we're talking about criminals. Oh, no. They're talking about you and me. We're the hands that they don't want to have guns in them. In fact, the proof of that is the Republicans had a bill in that said for a second time violent offender, somebody who used a firearm in the commission of a violent felony, went to prison, came out, and did it again. The Republicans said, okay, enough is enough. We need 10 years mandatory minimum. We want you off the streets because clearly you're a predator. And did the Democrats support that? No, not one of them. Every one of them voted that down while turning around to coming after you and I. This is a war on gun ownership. They want to disarm us. Don't have any doubts in your mind. That's the goal. Crime is an excuse. It's just an excuse. We could sit there and argue, well, crime goes down when you got, but they don't really care. They like crime up because that's their excuse. We've got to do something about crime. So sorry, gun owners, we need to take away your guns because only the government should have guns. And we know how that will end up, especially for those of us that may not be in political favor with some of the people in power. No, this is something we better be serious about this. We also have our borders are open. They're getting a lot of military age men from some interesting countries into America. No screening, nothing. And there was a warning that a sheriff put out that he got from a meeting he had with the Department of Justice. They say basically he was told it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something really bad happens. So my suggestion is be armed, and we need to make sure that these bills don't see the light of day. And I'll be talking more about that. But we're going to be. I really hated to have to do this, but we're going to be dependent on the governor to veto these bills. And there's really no reason he shouldn't. These are clearly not. He said in the State of the Commonwealth that he said we have tough enough gun laws in Virginia. We need to go after the people that are causing the mayhem. And that's exactly the opposite of what the General Assembly is doing. Most of the Republicans, 99% of them, are doing a good job holding the line in the General Assembly. We only have one that's voted for 8 gun control bills. They're not the worst of the gun control bills, but still, they're not some good. There's some in there that would ban somebody with a permit, for example, from visiting their grandmother in the hospital. No carry whatsoever there. So she supported a couple bans, and this is Delegate Coiner. But other than that, I can't say anything really bad about the rest of the Republicans right now. They're voting very well. The Senate, they're voting perfectly. They are absolutely on party lines. But the Democrats are not budging, guys. They are not, no matter what the bill is, they're voting to support it. No matter how unconstitutional, none of that stuff matters. It doesn't matter that it's hurting the wrong people. It doesn't matter that permit holders are way more law-abiding than even police. Doesn't matter. That's
as a matter of fact, we were sitting in a committee meeting, and they were talking about a bill that would prevent 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from buying guns, period. And I got up there and said, a federal judge in Virginia just recently ruled that the federal law banning 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from purchasing handguns was ruled unconstitutional. Now, it has been appealed, so don't go out at 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. Don't go out to your local gun dealer and try to buy a handgun because there is a temporary stay on that ruling until it goes to a higher court. But the one of the committee members asked counsel, the person that they pay to sit in the committee and advise them on the legality of the bills, he asked counsel about this ruling that I had referenced. And the counsel explained the ruling and said that, yes, it was under appeal and there was a temporary stay on the ruling. However, that the ruling would most likely stand up and it would be ruled unconstitutional, and that in his opinion, the bill they were trying to pass was unconstitutional. So the pro-right side moved that since we don't pass unconstitutional bills in Virginia, they moved to kill the bill. And then a substitute motion was made to send it to the floor for a full vote, which they did right along party lines, again, knowing that it was most likely unconstitutional.
Yeah. And so what's happened is something I've also never seen before. Normally, in the flow of things through the General Assembly, there are so many different ways that a bill can be killed, and that's good. Only the strongest bills should survive. If there's any kind of weakness, they should die. In the past, I've related it to the little sea turtles that go rushing by the hundreds down the sandy beach to get to the ocean. And on that run to the ocean, there's seagulls picking them off. There's other fish in the water, sharks, things like that, are looking for these turtles, and they get thinned way down. That's just nature. That's how it's handled. Well, and the bills were much like that, because a bill could be killed in subcommittee and committee. It could be killed on the floor. Then it had to switch houses. Then again, in the other house, could be killed in subcommittee, could be killed in committee, could be killed on the floor. If there's any difference in the bills, it could be killed in what's called a conference committee. There's all kinds of ways that the bill could be killed, and then it goes to the governor and he can veto it. So for a bill to become law, it normally goes through a very tight vetting, which is what the founding fathers envisioned, that only the best of the best. Oh, but no, not with the Democrats in power. Oh, no, 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 no. Every bill, every gun bill, except two, I think, out of 47, basically just flowed right on through, with all kinds of problems with them, everything being pointed out. In previous years, these bills would be killed. Even the Republicans would take down a bill of their own if it looked like it had a problem. You could bring it back next year, try to get things fixed, maybe try to fix it in committee. Oh, no, there's going to be probably 40 gun bills that are going to land on the governor's desk, 30 to 40. Never seen a number like that. Maybe in the past you'd see 3 or 4. This is an order of magnitude more than that.
Not even in California or Washington or Hawaii have we seen something like this.
No, because these bills are crap, quite frankly, and they're letting them go right on through. So this is what I'm saying. They're serious about taking our rights away. And somebody commented, yeah, they don't care about the Constitution. Well, I probably didn't make any friends down there, but in the House Public Safety Committee, when I stood up to speak on the first bill, I said, you guys need a sign out front of this door coming in here that says, caution, you're entering a Constitution-free zone. And it's absolutely true.
Yep. And yeah, Chris Farrow is saying the Democrats don't care. Their attitude is stop us in the courts. And that's because they know it costs us money. They take our money, our taxpayer dollars, and use it against us in this court system. We have to raise money from contributions from people like you and membership dues and things like that in order to fight these bills. And an individual typically doesn't have the funds to fight that. That's why organizations like VCDL, GOA, NRA, FPC, SAF, all of the pro-rights organizations that have your back, we're the ones that foot the bill for these lawsuits. So, yeah, it's incredibly expensive, and these suits that are making it to the Supreme Court are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
and it takes time, Pat. It takes time.
It does.
We can't do it overnight. If they pass a bad bill, we may be stuck with a bad law for 2 years, 3 years.
We're just now going to court on some of the ones from 2020, and that's just the very beginning. We still have several others that haven't even gotten to court yet. So, yeah, it absolutely takes time. So,
but I'll go over some of the bills. Let me just say this: all of the very strong pro-gun bills, they're all gone. Every last one of them. Now, some of them weren't real super strong bills. They were fairly, mild, but they moved the ball forward, and we wanted to move the ball. Nope, can't have that. They shot down even the mildest bill. So there's I think two bills out there now that we support because it's a carrot instead of a stick. It just says that a few more things you can buy and write off on taxes if you're buying it to secure a firearm. It's completely voluntary, and we support. That's it though. But that's a Democrat bill. That's why it's alive. Meanwhile, bills that are alive right now that have passed the House and going to the Senate. Let's talk about and going the other way too. We have a bill that trains police in how to better use red flag laws. So they're teaching the police how to better violate our rights. If you're going to violate them, let's really violate them, and here's how you do it. Welcome to that. This is one of many examples. They want to add a dating relationship to things that can take away your gun rights pretty much forever. A misdemeanor domestic violence used to be with a spouse or a child or something like that. Now it includes some dating partner, somebody that you may not have seen in the last 8 months who suddenly decides that if they can't have you, nobody can. So they're gonna make you pay, and they're gonna get you have your guns taken away under some bogus assault charge. And we mentioned that they want to move the age to buy firearms from 18, 19, and 20 up to 21. And they initially were going to do that for all firearms. They ended up backing off and making it quote unquote assault weapons that somebody under 21 can't have. They're perfectly happy to hand them a machine gun and send them off to war. But that same person, when they come back, is, oh, sorry, you're too young and immature to have a semi-automatic rifle that 10-year-olds have had for the last 100 years. So they want you to lock your guns up if there's somebody under 18 in your house. Now keep in mind, there have been plenty of cases where 16, 17, 15-year-olds have used a firearm to save their life from a home invasion, and they've saved their parents' lives or a sibling's life. There have been cases where somebody came in and was beating their mother to death, and the 17-year-old had access to a firearm and stopped it. So they just want a blanket thing. You're supposed to lock your guns up if you've got somebody that age. They want to make it so guns are illegal on public community colleges. That bill was passed. That was a Senator Deed's bill on the Senate side. So right now, the school may have a policy against it, and you can be charged with trespass. But that's not good enough. They want to make sure that as soon as you step in the building, even though you're just a permit holder who may be under threat, and you're carrying a gun because you don't know if your ex-spouse is going to show up at the college and blow you away. They want to be able to charge you with a crime. And so that one's moving. Oh, how about this one? They got gun-free zones, right? Got gun-free zones all over. They wanted to add more. They want to make another gun-free zone in hospitals, another gun-free zone at universities. There's other places they want gun-free zones. At the same time, if you store your handgun in your car and it becomes visible, they want to fine you $500 and tow your car off.
Right. So they want to put that gun in an impound lot where stuff gets stolen all the time.
Yeah, hand it over to the towing people.
To prevent the gun from getting stolen. Right. So, and Roy Bedwell pointed out that Rasul wants to lower the voting age to 16. So they want to say at 16 you can vote, but you're not responsible enough to buy a gun until you're 21.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's about disarming us. That's all it's about, guys.
Yeah. Hey, left hand, don't look what the right hand's doing,
Yeah. So pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Right. Yeah. So, Philip, people are probably wondering who this person is that we have on the screen here. Do you want to introduce Jill?
Yeah, I was going to have her come in. It's Jill McDaniel. She's taking over on the academy as we continue to move forward on it. We got a lot of things we need to do in going and teaching young people about their rights. And so Jill is taking that on. So introduce yourself, Jill.
I'm Jill Jill McDaniel. I am a lifelong Virginian, and some of y'all may already know who I am. Some of y'all don't. I've worked in research voluntarily, research and combating gun control, or as Phil likes to say, anti-Constitution folks. Um, but first and foremost, I'm a mother, and I'm excited about taking on this new challenge. It's really neat. So foremost because I'm a mom, but I'm also an instructor, and just a 2A hardcore 2A person through and through. So I'm excited. So I'm actually very excited to be here too. So I didn't know there's so many people. So I'm honored to be here amongst all of you. So
Yep. So, Jill, you've got a website, Mom at Arms. You want to tell us a little bit about that, the background on that?
Oh, gracious. Mom at Arms, yes, if you've heard of Mom at Arms, we are what we call a group of guerrilla warfare. We have kind of mastered it into our research and trolling of antis, and we have very successfully gone up against March for Our Lives, Moms Demand Action being what we call our arch nemesis, as well as Everytown, Giffords here and there, but mostly the big propagandists in the gun control realm is who we have really combated, and we've been very successful at it. Being that I'm in Virginia, I, of course, keep my focus on the Virginia antis, but also that my group of my research team, we're all throughout the United States. So we have a fun time. We're like the misfits that get together and create some ruckus and drive them all nuts to see if they block us, and then we just use things against them. So, but it's been effective, and we've even done it for Virginia with Nick Freitas when Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action, tried to use some of our work at Mom at Arms. It was a trolling method. You'll have to. I don't want to get too into that because it is a little perverse, but at the same time, she used that to lie against Nick Freitas and his wife, and to do such to fundraise for Abigail Spamberger. So I needed to make sure I said her name correctly, and I usually call her Spamberger, but anyway. So we called her on that one. Yeah, we called her on that one. We designed a shirt that was, I mean, if you hear the name Moms Demand Action, yeah, that's what it is. But
is that yours?
Designed a shirt. Everybody's adults in the chat. I'm trying my best to PG-13 it, but
yeah,
it was
just some exercise positions, as I recall.
And yeah, very much so. And the shirt was never in existence. It was never a thing. It was just something that we kind of used to poke the bear, so to speak, and it worked. We got a cease and desist from Everytown. We went through the whole thing, so that was fun. And fortunately, we used parody, the parody laws for it, and got out of that on our end. But then a year or 2 years later, Shannon Watts used it in her social media, on her social media or Twitter, then Twitter, and it's now X. But she used it to defame Nick Freitas and his wife. And fortunately, we caught it. And yeah, she didn't like us after that. She really didn't like us after that because we caught her in a lie.
She probably didn't like you before that either. But
listen, if you're talking Shannon, you're going to have to try to catch her in the truth. That's much harder than catching her in a lie.
And she is a master of wordplay.
The Democrats are gun controllers.
Yeah, they do. It's wild. Several meetings. We actually have some volunteers through Mom at Arms that actually go undercover in the Moms Demand Action and Every Town groups, and they have a good time getting us info. This last year, I think they've kind of caught up to a lot of people kind of sneaking in because they've been slow with their meetings and kind of went digital and virtual with a lot of stuff. So
Yeah,
we've been
this
sneaking.
is typical. I was going to be in a debate years ago, and I told the moderator, I said, he invited me, and he's inviting the gun control groups. He said, "Well, do you want to know what the questions are going to be?" I said, "No, go just send them to me. Just tell me, and I'll answer them." I said, "But let me tell you something. Have you talked to them yet?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay, let me just make a bet with you here. They're going to want to know exactly what questions they're going to ask. They're going to want to know who's in the audience. They're going to want to know who else is going to be on stage with them. They're going to know about the moderator. They're going to want to know everything about everything because they're not comfortable just being asked a question. They've got to have everything staged and everything set up with a fake so that they can come across like they know what they're doing. And he called me back later, I think a couple of days. He said, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's been a real pain dealing with those people." I said, "Yeah,
It
welcome."
takes
It really,
time to massage the facts.
it really
Yeah,
does.
get your lies straightened up.
Mhm.
Yeah, that takes time.
It really, it's wild to think because the many that I have encountered, since Mom at Arms became a thing, but it really became a thing when David Chipman was going up for the ATF when he was nominated for the ATF
Hmm.
director. Um, we Mom at Arms, my research team, and I, as well as other internet sleuths and other uh, other two-way journos, I guess you could say. We were all looking for stuff on David and just trying to figure out what was going on. A lot of people found his racist background. He does. I mean, just like any other anti two-way group. I mean, you could the roots are there. That those are those racist roots. But my team and I found his actual biases in his spendings through campaigns, and he hates us too. USA Today did a big spread on us. Several other big media heads did it, and it was just even he called us out in a um, NPR interview. He the what did he say, the that internet group or that internet sleuth group that went behind and found even his mother's campaign donations or his mother-in-law's campaign donations. But yeah, we dug into that really hard, and it so when that happened, a lot of people were kind of recognizing me at that time as Mom at Arms founder and all that good stuff, and something I never really expected to happen. And so I had to stop going to the meetings, the Moms Demand meetings, because immediately, you walk in and it's like, no, go away.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just,
I've seen them close down a meeting because a couple of pro-gun people walked in. They closed it down and moved. It was over. It was like, what? We've had some of them wander into our meetings, and we didn't
yeah,
close down and run them out as long as they were sitting there behaving like everybody else in the room. I mean, they could talk if they wanted, but orderly like everybody else. We I don't care. They want to get in there and ask some tough questions. I'm happy to answer them. But boy,
Right.
they're not like that at all. Oh boy, no way. Nothing on the
Yeah.
fly. It's kind of like
I only
Biden. They
know
don't.
I only know of one person that was ever ushered out, and that was at Lobby Day this year.
Yes.
And
And she was absolutely trying. She was disruptive. That's the only thing.
yeah,
We want you to be as polite as everybody else.
right.
And if you are, then you can be there. Heck, we've had Lori Haas at some of the lobby day rallies, standing
Yep.
there. She was observing, but she wasn't causing any problems, so
Nope.
that was fine.
yeah,
But yeah, this other lady, boy, she was. And again, they always say, "Oh, I was just so frightened of these men and women with guns." Oh, and they had these. No, she was up there saying some really insulting things
Hmm.
to a militia group that was there with their AR-15 slung openly across the street from the rally. I mean, she was really, really trying to push buttons.
She
So either
also
she,
threatened to assault Bruce Jackson.
yeah, she was going to kick him somewhere sensitive. I mean, she yelled that out. So she clearly not afraid of it. I don't know what she was hoping to do, but I'll say this much for that militia group, because I had video of that I posted. Some of you may not have seen it, but they kept their cool. They kept smiling. They were very personable. They really did a wonderful job, especially considering how that she was trying desperately to provoke something. And so I don't want to hear from people like that. Oh, I'm frightened of these people with guns. Baloney. They know we're good people. They just don't want us to have guns. We're the wrong hands, like I said earlier.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
Philip,
Go
we've
ahead.
had a couple of questions about is it time to contact the governor, and how many of these bad gun bills will actually get into law? So
Okay.
do you want to?
I'll field that. I also want to point out one that's moving that I didn't get to before. This one would do severe damage to reciprocity. So if you enjoy carrying on your Virginia permit in a bunch of other states, if Delegate Helmer gets his way with his bill, that number's going to cut way back. Right now, there's 38 states that'll honor your Virginia permit. But if Helmer gets his way, we might be down to 10. So that's a bill we're fighting, HB 466. This again, I'm saying, where's the problem, Delegate Helmer? Where? They can't come up with a problem. They just think because our laws may not match the other states, that they shouldn't be allowed to carry here. Yet there's no problem. But again, it's not about logic. It's not about the truth. It's about disarming us. So they don't care. It's la 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 la. They stick their fingers in their ears and you talk about facts and figures and constitutions, and they pass this stuff through.
As a
So
matter of
anyhow,
fact, they'll cut people off that are saying things that they don't want to hear, or they just won't let them testify. So
yep,
Philip
we
and
had
I
that happen.
were waiting virtually. We got up at the meeting started a half hour early, so 7:30 in the morning. We're online waiting, and they didn't hear the bills we were waiting for until like 10:30. So we spent all that time waiting. They pulled us up in the queue, and just right before we were supposed to speak, they just cut us off, bumped us off.
Never
And
said a word. Didn't get a word out.
nope,
That nothing.
nope. And this happened several times when we were actually in the committee meetings in Richmond, and we saw people online that just boop disappeared, and
Yep.
they would call their name in the meeting and say, "Oh, they're not there. So sad," and just go on and not wait for them to come back. Vic Nichols, fortunately, she would raise her hand in the background, and they put her back on a couple of times. But yeah,
Yeah.
they play dirty games.
Yeah, and Vic won't tolerate any of that. She's
No,
good, but
she's
anyhow,
got chutzpah. And
yeah.
before you get started again, for people that are just tuning in, that QR code you see on your screen takes you to the legislative tracking tool, and you can see all the bills, where they are, whether they're still alive or dead, what committee they're in. It links to the committee, so you can find the emails to the committee members. If you want to email each individual committee member, you just click on that and you get their contact information. You can read the bill itself. All of the amendments that have been made to it. I will say this year they're getting the amendments up very quickly, whereas last year we had to wait hours for them to show up. So, all right, I'll quit talking and let you go.
Okay, well, all right. So yeah, we're definitely going to be contacting the governor. We're going to do it at the appropriate time. Right now, he doesn't have any bills, and technically, usually you look at it and you say, well, we don't know for sure which bills are going to go to his desk. So the way to do it is, as soon as that first bill is headed his way, and he's actually got a real bill headed to his desk, we'll contact him. Now, he doesn't have to sign this thing immediately. There's time in here. He's got if the bill gets to him really early within the next week, probably. I'm not sure what the cutoff date is. He has 10 days to act on it. If it gets a little later in the session, which I expect most of them will, he doesn't have to do anything till April. So we've got all of March and part of April, a week or two into April, to contact him. Now, we're not going to wait that long. We'll be contacting him probably at the end of this week coming up, maybe the week after that. The session is over on March 9th, in which case They don't reconvene until in April, after the governor's cutoff date for vetoing. And but that's the plan. We will be contacting him. And we don't have any reason to believe he wouldn't veto bills, but we also don't have any strong assurances that all will go well. We just don't have firm answers yet. But he's never talked positively about gun control. He told the General Assembly, we don't need more gun control. We need people control. These violent criminals, we need to do something about them. So he's certainly been hinting, but we'll have to see. Can't take anything for granted. Boy, believe me, in politics, don't take anything for granted. Never do that. That's the biggest mistake you'll ever make. So we'll be contacting him. The odds of some of this stuff making it into law, well, the really bad stuff, hopefully not. They obviously want to ban assault, quote unquote, assault weapons, assault firearms, as they call them in Virginia law. They would ban newly made guns starting in July, as well as newly made magazines that hold more than 10 rounds in July. And 18 to 20-year-olds not being able to own. If they own an AR now, they'd have to give it up. They couldn't have it starting in July. So all of that stuff is coming. Now, some people will say, well, good. Oh, thank heavens. I can keep my AR now. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, if you think they're not going to come back for your AR that they're letting you keep right now, I've got some land I'd love to sell you out in the middle of a swamp. They're coming back for this. Don't you dare think they're not. What they'll do, they can say, well, you know what? We still have crime. Gee, I wonder why. You're not putting criminals in jail. You're letting them out early. You're cutting back on cop stuff. Wonder why. But they can say, well, we still have crime, so we got to do something about those darn assault weapons. Let's back it up. Let's say if you didn't own the gun by the year 2000, that you're going to have to give the gun up. I can see them do that, or say, we want to back it up to the assault weapon ban of 1994. If you owned it before 1994, you can keep it. Believe me, I can see them doing this with all the other dirty stuff that's going on. So hopefully that bill will not make it. But again, we best not sit back and count on a veto and not do our part. This is a war. It's all hands on deck. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Even if we were 100% sure that Governor Youngkin was going to veto every single bad bill that made it to his desk, us contacting him and letting him know where we stand on this just gives him that much more support and incentive and the ability to say, see here, people don't agree with you. This is not the majority of the public opinion saying they want these kind of laws. Now, that being said, we don't live in a democracy. This is a republic, a constitutional republic, and the Constitution was written to limit government from infringing on our rights. However, most of the legislators call it a democracy, which is, we all know, 3 wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner. So it is not a democracy for a reason, but we really need to be vocal, and we need to reach out to every single legislator, whether they're pro-rights or anti-rights or anti-safety, as Philip calls them. We need to be the vocal majority. And, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So let's squeak loud and clear.
Yeah, I like it how Lori Haas, who's one of the gun controllers, likes to say, well, we're not going anywhere. Well, where the heck does she think we're going? If she thinks she's not going anywhere, she's really not paying attention to us. We're the one whose ox is getting gored, not her. We're the ones that have a constitutional right that we're trying to protect, that they're desperately trying to rip away from our hands. So, we need to be there. And contacting, as Pat said, contacting the governor just reinforces that we're here, we're watching, we're counting on him to do the right thing to protect us from unconstitutional threats. We're reminding the gun controllers that we're here to stay and we're not going anywhere. And at some point, if we can get this pendulum to swing the other way, we will. And hopefully a bunch of them are going to get voted out of office.
Yeah, and
And
don't say that, hey, my senator or my delegate is good. I know they're going to vote the right way, so I'm not going to bother contacting them. Contact them and say, hey, thank you for standing up for my rights. Thank you for being there for me. Give them that pat on the back, because it's discouraging to sit up there and listen to all of this stuff day in and day out and hear people that testify in committees with their sob stories about, oh, this happened to my family, so I want you to pass this bill to restrict everybody from having this item that was used to hurt by one person to hurt one of my family members. So giving them the support that they need to stand up for your rights goes a long, long way.
I think it's common sense, Pat. I mean, we're all like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to constantly be bombarded with the negative, being told everything that's wrong, that you're doing wrong? Once in a while, it's really good to have somebody say you did a great job, appreciate you. It can make a huge difference, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
makes a huge difference in how they look at all of us. That we're good people, that are fair. We're not just one direction. We just going to pound somebody over all their bad votes. No, and we should be thanking when this session's over. There's going to be a whole lot of people to thank. I can't think of anybody on the Democrat side. It didn't used to be that way, but that's how it is now. I've never seen it this partisan all the way down the line. There'd be,
Yep.
it used to be there'd be a few Democrats we could thank for doing the right thing. I've not seen a single good vote out of any of them. So, in fact, it was interesting. Pat and I were watching a committee meeting, and this is a big committee, the public safety committee. It's got I think 22 people on it. It's a big committee, and they had at the time a few people were off the committee because they have to, sometimes people can't be in two places at once. So if you've got to testify on a bill you've got in front of another committee, you can't be sitting on a different committee during that time. So people sometimes come and go on these committees. So they got like 5 gun bills up, and one at a time. And at that time, there were 10 Democrats and 9 Republicans. And so every bill was like 10 to 9, 10 to 9, 10 to 9. So all this gun control was being pushed out. Well, all of a sudden, one of the Republicans who'd been missing came walking in. And as he was walking in, they were taking a vote on a gun control bill. And before he could vote on that bill, because he just walked in and was getting ready to sit down, they cut off the thing. So, okay, close the rolls. Boom. So he couldn't vote on that bill. If he voted, it would have been 10 to 10. And on a tie vote, the bill dies. It's got to be a majority. So he could have killed that gun control bill, but they played dirty pool and cut him off before. And then, now that it was tied 10 to 10, they went at ease. So they stopped hearing bills and they waited patiently as they had somebody go off to find a Democrat to come on the committee so they could be 11 to 10. And as soon as they were 11 to 10, then they went back to processing bills.
Yep. Like it was ready to pull the fire alarm. So Gina says that she went to some of the meetings and stood up and spoke. Not a good speaker, but she tried. And you don't have to be a good speaker. Just speak from your heart, or just get up and say, I oppose this bill, or I support this bill for all the reasons stated. It makes a difference when you have 15 people in line to speak on the bill.
Yeah, Gina, as I recall, is a minority too. It was wonderful having some minorities there. There should be a lot more than there are now. Again, standing with everybody, saying, "Don't leave my rights alone."
And Chris said, social media, TV ads, radio ads, videos, letters to the editor, even passing out flyers on street corners in college campuses. And it's the colleges where we're really losing the battle. And that's what Jill is focusing on. So she's got a bunch of things in the works, starting down in Southern Virginia where she's at, because she's got connections down there. So stay tuned for that. There'll probably be some things coming out and some VA alerts. The Defender is going to the printer very soon, so you should see that in your mailbox, and that has some cool stuff in it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a very good one. Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Mark Ching, our editor of the Defender. He does a fabulous job, and we've had some members write articles and send them in. So if there's something you want to share with people, you can send it to thedefender@vcdl.org, and Mark will work with you and maybe get it in a future edition.
And we probably, I want to shift gears a little bit here. One of the things that we need to talk about is, there's a couple things going on outside of the General Assembly. Number one, Henrico is looking at doing a gun ban again. They want to ban guns in all their government buildings. Okay. Now, they didn't ban them in parks, and they aren't trying to ban them at public events, probably because we won on those in a lawsuit against the city of Winchester. I'm guessing that that's probably why they decided not to touch that, knowing that that wouldn't go well for them in a court. Although now we're suing Winchester over government buildings as well. The parking lot, for example, is not a sensitive area. But anyhow, so I warned back in December when we got them to back away that the bill could, the ordinance, proposed ordinance could come back. They had a whole new, the elections had been held. So in January, the month after they backed away, a new group of people took over the Board of Supervisors for Henrico. And now the second month into their term, February 27th, they want to bring this bill back. And the county manager said that, some of the employees had some concerns about some of the buildings. So this vague sort of concerns here and there. And for that reason, they want to take away, again, here we go, all of our ability to carry there. And if there is something they feel could be potentially threatening, I sure as heck want to carry there if I have to go to that government building. I want to be able to protect myself. So it's important that we stand up again. We flooded that room. We flooded them with email, phone calls, and we flooded the room, and that paid off, and we got to do it again. This grassroots works if we all work. We've got to do it. If we don't do it, if somebody keep thinking somebody else will take care of it, then what happens is everybody's thinking that way, and then nothing happens, and then we're all shocked when one of these things, we can't stop it. So again, always be active on this. Pretend you're the only one that's doing anything and do it if you have to.
Yep.
But in reality, we had a good turnout last time. But these are new people. We got to do it all over again. They don't know what we did back in December. So we need to remind them, and remind them even better this time. Do it better than we did even in December. The other item was interesting. We were, after the session is over, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at the localities that charge $50 for a concealed handgun permit. And we're going to start going after them to lower those fees, because under the Virginia law, there's a $35 charge the police can charge, but under the law, they can only charge what it costs them to process the permit. So if it costs them $5, they can't charge $35 and put $30 in a slush fund. They cannot legally do that. But it turned out that it was Matthews County. Matthews did some checking, and they said that the state police have earmarked $5 for every background check for a permit. Turned out they aren't charging that. So Matthews is the only locality in all of Virginia that lowered their CHP fee from $50 to $10. Nobody has got a $10 fee anywhere. They've all left it at $15 as a minimum, as the minimum they could go. So we're going to be investigating this further, and we've got somebody that's stepping forward to man this effort, to head it up, of going after these localities. That'll be his sole focus. And so I'm kind of excited about that, having somebody that's focusing just on that. I think we can do some dramatic changes throughout the Commonwealth and take this equivalent of a poll tax away, and or at least lower it down to where it's a lot more equitable. So I see we've got a guest on, Pat.
We do. I am tickled to introduce Sarah Joh Albrecht. She started a group called Hold My Guns. Did I get the website right? Holdmyguns.org?
You did. Thank you, Pat.
Okay. Yeah, I was org. I think it's org.
Org.
So anyway, Sarah, I'll let you explain the concept and how things work, because everybody's always accusing people on our side of not doing anything. And that just is the farthest from the truth.
Absolutely. It's great to see you, Pat and Jill and Philip. I absolutely love spending time with you guys. So it's cool to be here tonight. Pat, you're spot on. You know, so many times our firearms community is accused of not doing anything. And it is so important that we take leadership to address some of the concerns that are legitimate, but in a way that does not infringe on rights. And that is what we're all about. So Hold My Guns is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're in the firearms community. And what we do is provide voluntary firearms storage through FFL partners. And our work is helping to save lives, protect property, and preserve rights. People use our service for many different reasons. Not everyone has a friend or family member who can store firearms in times of need. People use our service when they're being deployed, when someone's providing housing for a foster child, when someone's relocating and they don't want their firearms accessible in their home or in a hotel room while they're moving from one house to another. And people use it also when there's a mental health crisis in the home. And it is something that has really made a difference. It is something that's even been before Congress a couple times. Women for Gun Rights has brought that up and said, hey, we are actually doing something in the firearms community. Last year, we stored 144 firearms. That's up from 5 the previous year. And, you know, it is so important that as we think about not just fighting back about some of these infringing pieces of legislation that we're discussing tonight, but also to have a solution that we can have a legitimate response to. And I loved your point about how we can give positive support to legislators. And a lot of times, you know, something that I've seen is that these, even like city council meetings or meetings at different state levels, you know, a lot of the gun control groups show up and they come in with their glossy plans. Here's how we're going to help reduce suicide. Here's how we're going to keep firearms out of the wrong hands. And their plans are all hinging on gun control legislation. Whereas Hold My Guns is a voluntary solution that actually helps to equip people to make life-affirming choices, and it answers those needs. So I absolutely love the work that we're doing. I love to be able to support gun owners, which is such a contrast, isn't it, to these other efforts that criminalize and stigmatize gun owners. So it is a pleasure to be here.
Sarah, you told me something that really hit home, because we were talking about red flag laws and how when somebody is in a crisis mode and say they're having a mental health crisis, and maybe they just lost a loved one suddenly and they're maybe feeling suicidal or something like that. If you red flag that person, you barge into their home, you take their guns, and you leave them feeling A, violated, and B, even more alone and isolated, and C, you don't get them the mental health help that they need. But you made a comment to me about when the person is a part of the decision-making process, it's actually empowering, and they're a lot more likely to have a positive outcome. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Hold My Guns offers is a free personal safety plan. And that is a way, you know, when we think about training for defensive situations, and I'm a range safety officer and I'm, you know, very much involved with firearms training. And we think about how are we going to train for maybe the bad guy in the parking lot? What are we going to use for cover? You know, just planning out different scenario-based training. What are we going to do in situations like this? And there's not a whole lot of focus on what to do when there's a situation going on in your own household. And it might not even be the gun owner. It might be someone who's experiencing postpartum depression or a teenager who's struggling with addiction. And it is so important that if you have a personal safety plan, you're writing down your preferred resources that are 2A friendly. We think about like the Second Amendment Foundation has 2A doc where you can find a medical and mental health provider that actually cares about upholding rights. When you have a personal safety plan, that you have your preferred providers, your preferred contacts, your plan for what to do with firearms and other lethal means, then it puts you in the driver's seat and not along for the ride. If you do have to show up in an emergency room or you have an emergency situation going on, the more decision making, just like with defensive firearm training, the more decisions you can make ahead of time, the better you're going to fare in a crisis when it's really hard to make those decisions. And I always encourage people to, it's wise to get a baseline appointment with a mental health and medical provider who you agree with and have shared values with, as opposed to waiting for a crisis and only to be told, I'm sorry, but we're not accepting new clients and we're not accepting new patients right now. So the more proactive work you can do ahead of time, the more likely your rights are going to be preserved. And that is so important. We want to encourage people to think ahead in that way.
Yeah,
So,
the empowering part, I think, is very important. Yeah, it's your decision. You're thinking it through. You're making a decision. Yeah, and not being villainized or being stigmatized. It's like, okay, I just lost my sister, and I'm really down. This is a very tough time. I might lose my job. I just think I just need some time, and you can then make your decision. You can give yourself whatever time you want, knowing that when you're ready, then you're right back where you were. You've lost nothing, but you've taken advantage of a situation. How are we looking in Virginia for this? I mean, I know you said Washington State was where you began, if I remember. Was it Washington or Oregon? I thought you guys were out west.
We do have a partner in Washington State. Our first partner, I think, was in Louisiana, and they were
Oh,
actually hit by a tornado. So we do have 8 states represented, and we just have onboarded a 9th storage partner in Pennsylvania. We would love to have one in Virginia. So Philip, let's work on that because it is such a vital tool, and especially when you're talking to legislators and you say, "Hey, we actually have a solution that is saving lives and that people can use." And remember, the right to bear arms is one that's diversely exercised. So this is something that people from all backgrounds can benefit from. And it actually equips people to make good choices, as opposed to like red flag laws, like Pat said. I love John Adams has paraphrasing him. If we do not have due process, we are no. If we do not have due process, we are no better than cattle. And that's so true. And people don't realize that. It sounds good. Hey, if someone's struggling, hey, maybe they shouldn't be around firearms. That sounds good to the ear, but what are the implications of that? Can someone just, with an ex parte hearing, decide that they're going to come in and steal your property from you without the opportunity to even speak up for yourself? Red flag laws are evil. And to contrast, with Hold My Guns, it's voluntary firearm storage. It puts that gun owner in the decision-making seat. And like you said, Pat, someone just comes in and takes away firearms. It does nothing for that person's mental health. It does not connect them to support services. And it's just so dangerous because so many states, the threshold for who can even report is just so dangerous, and the context. And, you couple that with things like the Violence Against Women Act that was coupled in with the omnibus bill, a couple years back, that, the threshold for reporting someone to have firearms taken away is that maybe you had a cup of coffee with them. You don't even have to have an intimate relationship. So these are dangerous things. And that's why it's so important to not only say, hell no to these types of legislation, but to educate people as to a better way that actually encourages people to seek help and to practice self-governance.
yeah, it's scary. One of the bills in here that I hadn't talked to about yet A simple assault could take away your ability to own guns for 5 years. A simple assault. That doesn't mean assault and battery. It doesn't mean you hit somebody. You can assault somebody and never touch them. That if that doesn't scare everybody out there, I don't know what will.
Yeah, misdemeanor. So
It's
we
misdemeanor.
should never be taking away rights for a misdemeanor. But the other thing that these red flag laws do is they're actually counterproductive, because somebody that is in a crisis situation is even more hesitant to reach out to, say, psychiatric professionals to find help, because they're afraid of losing their rights, along with being afraid of being stigmatized. So um, all of these things set up barriers higher and higher and higher, and they actually cause problems instead of solving problems.
You
They sure do.
know,
Not very trauma
uh,
informed, are they?
Sarah. I wonder if this would be something to add to your what you're working on. Um, to provide a list of psychiatrists that are gun friendly, that really understand the situation. Like we have some here in Virginia, which is something I would, put on the list. And that would be another help. In other words, again, the problem is you go to somebody that hates guns, they might look for an excuse to red flag you when there really isn't a need to do that, because they don't like guns and you went to them and trust that you needed some help. But there are, I'm sure, psychiatrists out there that are friendly to the concept of gun ownership, and that friendly to the idea of somebody coming to get help and not being punished for it and just getting the help.
There
So,
absolutely are. And the Second Amendment Foundation has, it's called Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. And under that, if you go to 2adoc, I believe it's .com, you can request a psychiatrist that is 2A friendly. And, they do such a good job with it that we actually have that on our resource page at
oh, nice,
holdmyguns.org. And
nice.
so, if you do know of psychiatrists who have those shared values and who want to make sure that rights are preserved, which, by the way, is a protective factor to make sure that the rights and values of the patient are protected, encourage them to connect with Second Amendment Foundation's 2adoc, because we need more people on that list.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and letting people know about your program. It's so important to um, be proactive, and we do acknowledge that there are times when guns are used inappropriately, um, and we have to look at ways to help mitigate the problem while preserving our rights. So, standing up and saying it's my right and you can't take it is fine, but also offering solutions to real problems helps our cause.
Yes. I want to share that we do have a charity auction coming up. We're so grateful for Cheryl Todd and Pot of Gold Auctions. And that is going to start around March 9th and it's going to run to March 26th. Sig Sauer is our headlining sponsor. I believe they're donating 5 firearms and some certificates to even soup them up a little bit. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to come up with. Mantis is also one of our supporters, and there's some others on there as well. So if anyone has an interest in, we still have a little window of time here. If anyone wants to donate items to that auction, it doesn't even have to be a firearm. It could be just something that's $100 value or more. Then we'd love to hear from you. So again, that auction is going to be with Pot of Gold Auctions. It's the online auction out of Arizona. And this will help to allow us to continue to do this mission within our firearms community and to provide the solution.
That's super. I hope everybody tunes into that and maybe gets some good guns and helps raise money for a very worthy cause. And we work on finding you some FFLs in Virginia that maybe can help out with the program. So you were telling me that basically what they'll do is they'll offer a locker system that you can put your gun in?
We have several different options. So if someone needs to have their complete firearms stored, the two options with that are to do a custodial storage, which goes into the inventory of the FFL, or a locker system. And it depends on the location and what space they have available. The other thing that we can do is store a non-serialized critical part like a bolt carrier group or a firing pin. And we can also store an accessory like a key to a gun lock. So it just depends on the needs of the customer and the space available for that FFL and what services they're able to offer. Something else that we're looking for is an attorney in Virginia who is very well versed in firearms law and also contract law. Those are the two areas of law that we have to make sure we have a compliant contract for the state of Virginia. We want to reduce liability to all parties involved, but also ensure that we are protecting the privacy of that FFL's customers who need firearms storage.
Do you have a sample that you use in other states?
We sure do. Yes, we actually provide a template that's mostly filled in. Yes, go ahead, Phil.
We got attorneys, I'm sure, that could fix that up for you.
That would be
we got some incredible gun attorneys in Virginia that we have direct contact with. So
send an email to leadership@vcdl.org, and we'll work with you
attorneys. On that. You'll hit two attorneys just by doing that.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it. Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and explaining your program to us.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to head out, but it was so good to spend time with all of you tonight. Thank you for encouraging everyone to, of course, stand up for rights, but also to think about solutions that actually make a difference, that we can push back. So many of these gun control solutions actually create more harm than good. Things like gun bans mean that people can't transfer their firearms for firearms storage, for example. So it does not make sense. These unintended consequences, they create stigma and they criminalize wonderful citizens that are lawfully using firearms. So I really applaud your work, and it's good to spend time with you guys tonight.
Yep. Thanks for coming. I know you had family issues tonight, and appreciate you taking a few minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, family's important. So you're going to see a message on your screen to leave your window open until the video uploads. So just you can walk away from your computer, but just leave it open until it uploads. So have a good night, Sarah, and thanks for coming on.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
We should be able to help her with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Super great program. Really, the gun community is really a fabulous place. And it's amazing how when people put their mind to it, they come up with real solutions that don't infringe on rights and do actually promote safety instead of creating these stupid defense-free zones that become killing fields, essentially. All of these so-called solutions that the anti-freedom, anti-safety people come up with make us all less safe, not more safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and we don't attack them the way they attack us. It's just unfortunate. The nicest people you want to meet are gun owners. I say it over and over again. I see it all the time. So, it's about 9:09. What did you have, Pat? Did you have something on your agenda?
Not really, other than to say that we do have several lawsuits going on, and more on the horizon potentially. So, if you have let your membership lapse, consider renewing it. If you have friends that are interested in firearms, suggest that they join. I'm amazed at the number of people that come into my shop that have never heard of VCDL. And then you say, did you hear about that big gun rally in Richmond? Oh yeah, that was awesome. I was there. Well, that was VCDL. So, and talk to people, because we're stuck with the same legislative body for next session as well. But in 2025, we'll have elections again, and we really, really, really need to turn out. The House is up for election, and the governor and the lieutenant governor and the AG,
Attorney
right?
General.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it can either go really good, or we can see another 2019 style election and 2020 style General Assembly. So, as much as I would love to have another lobby day like 2020, I do not want to see another 2 years of a legislative body like we had in 2020 and 2021. So,
No.
Get people involved. Stay engaged with your local governments. That's where you have the most control. Like Philip was saying, that one of our VCDL members, Lindsay Tritipo, he's on our VCDL PAC, and he went down to Matthews County and talked to his supervisors and was going to get them to reduce the fee to $15. And then they discovered that they weren't actually being billed by the state police, so they reduced it to 10, because that's the only one that is mandated by law. So Matthews County is going down to the cheapest CHP fee in the state of $10. And we've got Isle of Wight poised to reduce their fee, but they want to wait until their next budget session. So stay tuned on that. After the session is over, we're going to be working on all of these counties that are charging more than the minimum that they have to charge. So, Jill, do you want to talk about anything you've got thinking of for the Academy?
No, not at the moment. I think that I'm still in the process of organizing my ideas and everything, but I do encourage everyone on and throughout the VCDL to just stay tuned and be ready to volunteer some time. So I think that as much as we can all pull together as VCDL members, I think that it will be a great success, especially for our youth. And we need that. We definitely need that. I think
I'd look forward to teaching the course that we put together on the Constitution and the Second Amendment.
Which is really, really neat. I actually really enjoyed that. So just stay tuned. I'm excited. I'm very honored to be part of this side of the VCDL. And as Pat and Phil have mentioned as well, I mean, we have the morals within the gun, the 2A world and the gun owners world. We are above. We go above and beyond. And if you did go to VCDL Lobby Day in 2020, we left it better than we found it, and that's the whole purpose. So, and that's going to be my goal with the Academy as well. So.
Yeah, and we just need to make damn sure they don't disarm us. Just cannot let that happen.
Exactly. Yep.
Not in this crazy world. not going to happen. So we're gonna fight and stop this stuff.
So, exactly. Philip, where can people stay up to date and find action items and things like that?
Well, the VCDL website, at the bottom of the main page are the news items. That's where your action items show up. Your VA, all your VA alerts are there. So you can see, if you missed one, you can check there for the things. Most of the action items now are not, no longer valid because things have moved on. But there will be new action items, and be watching for the governor, because we need, you need to, if you're at a gun store, if you're at a gun range, talk to the people, make sure all of them contact the governor. We forgot to mention, we've got 10,000 postcards that are going to be distributed at gun shows over the next few weeks. So we're going to get people to sign those, and we'll put a stamp on them and send them to the governor. So hopefully he'll have thousands and thousands and thousands of brightly colored postcards on his desk.
Yep.
Urging him to not sign gun control bills.
So if you go to a gun show between now and March, the middle of March or the end of March?
End of March.
Yeah, so stop by the VCDL booth and sign the postcard, and you just leave it there. We'll put the stamp on it and we'll mail it. You don't even have to pay for the stamp. But they'll be at all the gun shows starting now, right? They've been
I
distributed.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Should be.
So I think it's Doswell coming up has a gun show. And you can go on our events page, go on the calendar, and you can see all the upcoming shows. Swing by the show, stop by our booth, and sign the card so we can get them all sent to the governor. And hopefully his office will be up to their waist in postcards.
Nice.
Yep. So, and watch the VA alert for action items.
Yeah, when they come, sometimes we've got short fuse on them. Sometimes we have a little bit of a fuse, but not always. So yeah, if you're watching and ready to jump on it, that's great. Yeah, we'll have a booth in Virginia Beach in March. Daniel's reminding us. So
Yep.
yeah, Virginia Beach is an important place to have those postcards coming out of. So yep, help us with that, and we'll have action items, and hopefully we can stop all of this. But remember, the elections that are coming up in a couple of years, we could have a new governor. So we best be fighting as hard as we can the whole time. And hopefully the elections will go well, but they won't if people stay home.
Yep. So we did not put a copy of the postcard in the Defender. That had already gone to press. So, but there may be something online that can download, Philip.
We can put something up there, I suppose, but it's we'll probably just go a different way when it comes to outside the gun show.
Yeah.
We'll do emails, we'll do phone calls. We may also be running maybe some ads in newspapers, basically an open letter to the governor, things like that. So we're looking at some various options.
Yep. And
who knows?
Like it
maybe
was
a video.
Like it was said earlier, you can write letters to the editor. Believe it or not, people do still read newspapers, even digital copies or whatever. And the digital copies are even better because people can comment online. So you get a back and forth conversation going there. So absolutely write letters to the editor of your paper, make phone calls. And like I said earlier, just because your senator or delegate is not supportive of your rights, that's all the more reason to call them and make it painful for them to not support your rights. Be polite, but let them know if they get 200, 300, 400 phone calls saying, why are you putting in this bill? There was a bill put in this year, both in the House and the Senate, that would make it possible for people to sue anybody that sold anything even remotely related to firearms if that firearm was used in a crime. So Walmart can sell a sling, and that sling goes in a hunting rifle, and the person using that hunting rifle accidentally shot his hunting buddy and killed him. The family of the hunting buddy could sue Walmart for selling the sling. And bills like this are designed to put businesses, law-abiding, legal businesses, out of business, to starve you of your ability to purchase any kind of firearm, ammunition, any gun paraphernalia, anything like that. So
they're coming from all angles. They are. It is a war. It's not just a little skirmish in one place. This is an all-out war where we've got attacks coming from all directions, all different types, all different theories. Some of them are crazy, but they're still attacks, and So I'm just saying, hunker down. We're in this. We're in a fight, and we need to win it.
Yep. All right, guys. If nobody has anything else, we have been going for an hour and 20 minutes here, so it's about time we sign off.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody coming
yeah.
out, signing on. Appreciate that. Good stuff. I'm
Yeah.
watching the comments come through too. I love all these comments.
Yep.
A lot of
great
thoughtful stuff.
conversations tonight.
Yes.
So, Jill, welcome aboard. The Academy is lucky to have you, and we're really excited to be working with you. So, guys, stay tuned to see what Jill's got in store, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Good night.